Man, how do you tattoo like that? Is it the shoes? It's the shoes. It's gotta be the shoes. Hey, what's up, friends? Long time no see. It's good to be back on the Fireside Tattoo Network, shooting a new podcast. It's been a while since we have put out a podcast or recorded a podcast, but we had a great reason to do one today. On today's episode, we sit down with Thom Bulman. You may know Thom as a tattooer. He tattooed for a long time, doesn't tattoo anymore. If you have met him or heard of him recently, it is likely due to his custom shoe company Bull Airs, which are super cool. I've been following him since he started. I had never met Thom before this episode. I knew of him. I followed him on Instagram for some years back when he was tattooing, and he followed Fireside. So we knew of each other, but we had never actually met. And I remember back when he was tattooing that he started doing some kind of one-off shoe designs, just painting and drawing on shoes like a lot of artists do. But then he started to really level up and do some super cool custom shoe stuff. And through COVID, that ended up becoming a full-time gig. So now he runs a full scale kind of not production, that's not the right way to put it, custom shoe company with limited drops, limited runs of really, really cool shoes that are based around a lot of pop culture types of imagery. So we decided to sit down and just talk about tattooing, talk about how so many tattooers have started to pick up kind of side gigs, whether it's just, selling prints, making their own custom prints or t-shirts or any number of things that artists do to supplement their tattoo income. And then he talked about the way that he kind of transitioned that mindset, that sort of like side hustle mindset, into a full-fledged business with employees and everything else. It's a really interesting discussion that we had. If you're into entrepreneurship or things like that, we do talk about tattoos. So if you're into tattoos, then we'll certainly hit on that a little bit. But conversation was more focused on on the kind of evolution of his career. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, some crazy, crazy stuff in this episode, especially how he gets around some of the weird copyright types of things with a lot of the companies or a lot of the movies and characters and things that he designs his shoes around. So some interesting discussions around that. Before we get rolling, I wanted to let everyone know we have just a couple of spots left, maybe 2 spots left for September 2024 Fireside Yacht Club. I will link to the Yacht Club if you want to jump in, come hang out with me on a boat. We'll draw pictures. We'll talk about tattoos. We probably won't do any tattooing on the boat, but we'll have a great time out on the water. Just a fun little art retreat for a small group of people. If you haven't heard of Yacht Club, I'll leave a link in the description below. Also, I'd love for you to check out the Inside Fireside Tattoo Club. If you've been paying attention to us for the last year or so, you know that's really been our focus. It is growing. It is. We got about 60 some odd members right now, and it's a lot of fun. We have great discussions in there, drawing nights, technique talks, mindset Mondays, all types of activities if you're into activities. What else? Let's leave it at that. Maybe I'll jump in the middle and share some more of what's happening in the world of Fireside. But for now, check out Thom Bulman and Bull Airs, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Kind of wing it a lot of times.
Wing
really
it.
Plan a
That's
lot.
fun.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I did the interview with Tony Ciavaro for his magazine, and when I talked to him before he did that, I was like, "Why do you want me on there?" He's like, "Well, I think people, a lot of people that are kind of wanting to maybe try other things, and they're stuck in this rut of I'm only good at tattooing, or I'm afraid to move out." He was like, "Yeah, I want that in a magazine because I think people would enjoy reading it." So I think that's the perfect conversation because I still get a lot of people that write me and basically say like, "Hey, you're doing exactly what I want to do when I get to my end of my tenure in tattooing, and how did you do it?" and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think, and it's funny that you kind of reached out when you did, because I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of my friends who are really great tattooers, I've noticed over this year in particular, and of course this is a slow season, holidays and all that, we're just kind of coming out of it now, but I've seen more people this year, I think, like either contemplating like getting out of tattooing altogether, going to school to do something else, or at the very least starting some sort of a side, hustle type of thing. You see more and more people who are like showcasing their the way they're doing digital designs and prints, trying to find other sources of revenue. Have you noticed that too, like more this year than before?
Yeah, so a lot of my, close friends are still in the game tattooing. Obviously, if you talk to Joe Capianco, he's gonna bitch about the industry in general because that's just how he is. He's that East Coast back in my day, not for nothing, fuck all these guys. But everybody else that like I know that have been tattooing 20 years plus, they've all said, "Hey man, you got out when you did," because it's. I mean, I don't know if you can attest for this, but apparently this past year has been a lot slower for a lot of the old guys. So maybe I got
Yeah.
lucky. I don't know.
Yeah, personally, I haven't had any. Luckily, I haven't had any issues, but I notice it with, like with Fireside, for example. We have a membership, a monthly kind of membership. We have courses that we sell, just digital products and things like that. And I noticed, I never would have thought that $25 a month would really strain tattooers, professional tattooers. But you have people who join and they're members and they're just like, man, I just need to take a break. I can't afford it. And it's like, wow, $25, huh? Like, okay,
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, it's the same thing. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Pon. He's out of New York. He's a old school tattooer of 25 plus years, and he's my best friend. He was on Ink
okay.
Master with us too.
Okay.
He just is the same thing. Like, he's just saying, man, it just there's so much saturation in the market right now, and it's all these. This is the same shit you hear nonstop. Too many tattooers that in their apprenticeship quit and then they open up their own shop and then they get their own apprentices and then and then it's all these I'm sure you're the same as me. I didn't start doing specialized tattooing until 10 years into tattooing, and if I were still tattooing right now I'd be like 17 years. But now you have kids that are I've been tattooing 6 months, all I do is anime tattoos and very specific, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's funny.
It is, yeah. It's a completely different world. So I remember, I guess we've I don't know how I first found you, or maybe you were following Fireside and I started following you back, but it was before you were. I was seeing a little bit of shoe stuff, but I was still seeing mostly tattoos. So when you maybe we can. I don't know how you want to approach it. I mean, was it meant just as a hobby that you were something you were just kind of into that took over, or did you see it as a legitimate like whatever a business
Yes.
outside?
I mean, really, it started with, like most tattooers. I mean, how many people do like paint up vans or
Mhm.
chucks and for a customer? So I would still, since 2001, I would paint, a pair of shoes for a friend or a customer here and there, and it would be fun. And then literally right before COVID hit, a friend of mine who's he's a very well sneaker creator. His name's Dom. Goes by the shoe surgeon. He's out of LA, but he's originally from upstate New York, where I'm from, and we have a lot of the same friends. And he'd always be like, "Hey, you need to come tattoo me in LA," and I'm like, "I don't have time." And then he'd always been bugging me because he offers these almost like a master class in sneaker reconstruction, building a shoe from the ground up, because that's really what he's known for. And I'd be like, I don't have the time, blah blah blah. Your typical excuses because you're used to tattooing 10 hours a day and then go home and do nothing. Um, and when COVID hit, it was the perfect time. Obviously, like we couldn't tattoo in New York, so he basically hit me up again, and he goes, listen, I'll give you the course for free because usually it's like a $1,200 or $1,300 course. He's like, just do it. I think you do really good. You're so creative. I'm like, cool. So I took it, made a pair of Wolverine shoes, which I posted it. People were going ape shit for it. And originally it was going to be I never really thought about retiring from tattooing whatsoever. Like to me, I was all in. I drink the water, I drink the Kool-Aid. I'm not leaving. And then, obviously, like when COVID hits and you can't tattoo and you're stuck in your house and you're like, fuck, how am I gonna, I can't sell prints to make exactly what I was making per hour before. So my, head starts spinning, and then I make these pair of shoes and everybody's freaking out about these shoes. I was like, damn, maybe I have something here. And talking to Dom, and he was like, listen, I'm the only one that does like what I do, but his shoes are very like high end Louis Vuitton, Gucci. It's very much for like LeBron and celebrities like Fat Joe and things like that. And I was like, I don't want to do that shit. I'm not into Louis Vuitton and all the high end brand shit. And he's like, yeah, but geek culture, pop culture. He's like, I think you could do what you do, but with licensing and brandings and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, really? And I kind of didn't really give it too much thought, but then, I did another shoe. I think I did a Gambit and a Silver Samurai, and every time I'd post one, I'd get like 5 more orders. And then the big one was, and during this time, I'm still tattooing had just started back up in New York, and that's when I used to share a tattoo studio with Josh Payne, which I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
But we were back to working again, and I was still like, I think I was, I would work 3 or 4 days a week, and then my shoe studio was literally down the hall from the other studio, so I would just go down there and be sewing and creating shoes and stuff like that. And then I designed a Ninja Turtle themed shoe, and it went gangbusters. And I was like, "Fuck, this is crazy!" Put it up for pre-order. I thought maybe I'd get 10 orders, and within 20 minutes, I got 50 orders, and these were like
Wow.
$700 pairs because I was like, these are going to take a lot of time. They're all still handmade by me, so
Mhm.
I cut the pre-order, and then I was like, fuck, I just got X amount of money in like 20 minutes. Maybe I got something here.
Right.
and then
Yeah.
and then from there, it was literally like, originally, like, it was like, oh, I worked 5 days a week, and I would, work the other days building shoes, and then it was 4 days, and then it was 3 days, and then it was like I work 1 day a month. You know what I mean? And now I'm fully retired. I think I tattoo here and there on like families and friends and stuff like that, but I haven't done an actual paying customer in like 2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. So
yeah,
I'm curious about with that kind of trajectory and that growth. I bet there were a lot of bottlenecks. I mean, just like getting 50 orders that you're having to kind of hand make. Did you find that I guess I'll preface it by saying a lot of people who find themselves in side businesses that start to grow over, they'll hit this kind of ceiling of complexity where like, oh, I can't even do this. I got to get
yeah.
like this is more than I
So
can handle.
you'd always hear about people being like, I grew too fast and I couldn't handle the orders. 100% was me. Even the 50 orders I had, I ended up getting other people that worked in the tattoo shop with me. I was like, hey, when you're not working, we have this old space. Come down here, and we basically like built an assembly line, and we had like the one guy's cutting the patterns, the other guys like taping them down and getting them ready. Even with that, I think I got 20 pairs done, and I was like, shit, I still got 30 more to do, and I have a certain amount of time that I got to get them out. So I ended up reaching out to a bunch of friends, and there's a it's called Garrixing down in Philadelphia area, and it's actually like one of the only. I mean, there's a couple, but there's one of the only shoe factories that are in America still. And I reached out to them, and they actually helped me finish the rest of those shoes. And then we had a long talk with them, and they're like, "Listen," he's like, "it's cool if you're doing like 1 or 2 or even 10, but when you get up to like anything over 30, you have to have a factory make them."
Mm.
So at that point is when I said, listen, if I want to keep scaling this up and ramping it up, I have to go to a factory and get factories and, go through that whole process, which was a process. But we've been working with 2 factories in China right now for the last 2.5 years, and they're amazing. I couldn't be more happier with them. I mean, anything I throw at them, they can make it. And if they can't, they'll figure out how to make it. So it's been a
Uh,
blessing. We're actually going out to China in a few months to do like a tour of their factory and stuff like that too, which is really
oh,
cool.
nice, man. I bet that was a crazy kind of learning experience. On the creative side, like you said, whatever you throw at them. I have a lot of questions in regards to the design and the ideas and all that. But since you started there, what do you conceptually? What do they get from you that turns into a shoe? Do you make a prototype or?
Yeah, so originally it was just like I would be drawing, I'd have a template on my Procreate, kind of like how you draw a tattoo, and I would draw over the top of an Air Jordan 1 template, let's say. And then I'd have what's called call outs. So I'd have like a little line that goes to the eyelet row, and it would be like, this is the fabric I want. And it'd be like a little swatch of corduroy or like a certain type of leather. And you kind of do that. And then you also have to, I have a Pantone book right here, but my Pantones, that's fucking key. So I would give them, I need, Pantone 4182C, and then they fucking match it up perfectly. So it's basically a finished design of what I want with a lot of call outs, a lot of Pantones, a lot of hand notes. And a lot of it was like, I'd say the first 6 months is just getting used to their verbiage. They would say, oh, Do you want Preble? I'd be like, I want Preble leather, which Preble leather is like a kind of bumpy-ish leather that we call in America. And they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they call it Trumbull leather. So then I'd have to learn some of their terms that they use over there and stuff. So that took a little bit. But now we're at such good shorthand that I don't even have to do like the call outs anymore. I would just, draw it, and then I would just draw a line, and like one would mean Preble or two would mean PVC, which is rubber, and they just know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's nice.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. What about backing up further than that on the creative side? Like, I assume going back to when you're just like painting on shoes, you're starting it out like you're literally like you would a tattoo. You're drawing or painting
Yep.
imagery on the side of the shoe. That's not really what you're doing. I mean, you're creating shoes that, sometimes in a very abstract way, result in this thing that represents this movie. Like, I love the new and the new Back to the Future stuff that you
Yeah.
did. I really love I mean, I love all of them, but I've never been one that even tried to pull off really like bright and crazy shoes. But I love the gray ones so much.
Yeah, that
Uh,
that one was cool because we literally got a phone call. So it went live on Friday, and then Friday night we got an email from Michael J. Fox's agent, and he said, "Hey,
oh,
Michael saw these shoes. He wants them." I'm like, "He can fucking have them." So
right.
I'm actually gonna go down to Los Angeles in June, and I'm supposed to meet up with him and give him the shoes in person. So
Oh, that's super cool.
that's pretty amazing. You're blessed by the maker, the creator.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. Well, so I guess my kind of question is, or from the creative standpoint, it's kind of gotten away from this representational, like drawing things on shoes, like it may have been to begin
Well,
with. It's more of like fashion design now, a little
it,
bit, or what?
it
Like,
is, and it's both. Like, so when I created, like, so this is like my shorthorn, right? So this is my
yeah.
own silhouette. It's trademark. But when we do this, we take what's called a last, which is basically like I don't know what you want to call it, like a ceramic version of a foot that you put you put it in here and you build the shoe around it. But you would do that. You tape it all up. You take you just cut in the bottom, and then you take the pattern and you put it flat on the ground, and then you can draw on top of it. So you want to, like, it does take some skill about, and then I think this is where it comes into tattooing is I know on certain parts of the body how that's going to warp and move. And it's the same thing when you're designing the actual silhouette of the shoe. You want to know where things are going to lay and where this part's going to sit and this part's going to sit. So that's where it really helped me out a lot, is just knowing how things sit on curvatures and three-dimensional space and stuff like that. And then the rest is like what you said, is more like fashion, art, and kind of, doing that whole type of thing too.
Yeah. Are you just, and if you want to pick a particular shoe to kind of run through it, just kind of the creative process in any one, like, do you start with, say it's something Ninja Turtles? Do you start like, I know the color, I know the color, the palette that I'm going to use on this, or is it more of like, do you have a specific process, like you start here, move out, or is it,
Yeah, really, it's in the beginning, it's laying down the primary colors and kind of figuring out the scheme. Like you said, if it's Ninja Turtles, it'd be like Michelangelo. I'm like, I know I have to have this certain type of green and this orange, and then kind of playing off of that. But usually I usually have like a rule of thumb, as I try not to do more. I'll push it at three colors. I like to keep it two colors. Like, it's a really nice, because then it gets too busy, and then like your eyes kind of get confused. It's the same thing like with a tattoo. You want to be able to read it from across the room, and if it's got like six damn colors on it, you'd be like, I don't know what I'm looking at here,
yeah. Yeah, that so that is kind of one of the commonalities between the two. So you're thinking of them simply. I mean, you want like some kind of cohesiveness with the design and the color. You want people to be able to recognize what's happening from a ways away. You're
Yep.
talking what you're mentioning with the building it around the foot reminds me. We did a show with Ryan Ashley probably a couple of years ago at the Richmond show, and I didn't realize this beforehand. She came
He's a
from the
model.
fashion. Yeah, and
So
she
I
came from
used I used to
fashion.
work with
Oh, okay.
Ryan down in Pennsylvania when I worked in Wilkes-Barre. So she
Okay.
she was an apprentice when I was working down at Town Hall Square. So I
Oh,
know Ryan very, although being on the
okay.
show with her too, but I know her very well. Yeah, so
Gotcha.
she was a model before that.
I see. Yeah, yeah. I don't know her well. I just know her from that one interview, but she was talking about coming from fashion and how a lot of her designs come from like templates of how you might cut, how you might assemble a shirt, or like where you sew the shoulders, where the cut
Yeah,
off points are.
I
So
can see that
it's
very very easily, especially now looking into it for sure.
yeah, yeah. It's that's interesting, and you never think about where like the similarities between different types of or different types of art. Of course, we're fitting designs to skin. Now you're fitting
Yeah.
designs to feet.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, it's the same thing. Like, I have I'm not classically trained in art, but I know like non-regional color. I have what are the things called tangents. So
mhm.
like, you have the lines. You don't want like another line that'd be on this because then it will make you know exactly what I'm talking
Mhm.
about. Like those I still use in the shoes today. When I'm a lot of those basic art skills for sure. I definitely use those.
Yeah,
Usually not so much non-regional. I like to have if I have a pop of color in the back, I at least want to weigh it out in the front so you have a nice even balance.
yeah, yeah. Um, how before I forget about it, you mentioned right at the start some of the licensing, and I was curious about that when I first started seeing your shoes. Do the Ninja
It's
Turtles know
fun.
that you're? Is it crazy?
Uh so a lot of our stuff is licensed. Funny enough, we had a deal with Viacom, who's Paramount, who owns Nickelodeon. Before the Mutant Mayhem movie came out, we had a whole deal lined up with Nickelodeon and Paramount to officially do Ninja Turtle stuff. Before that, we were kind of doing, flying by the seat of our pants. But uh, I think it was June. We went out to the licensing expo in Las Vegas, shook the hand of the senior VP licensing of Paramount, and then they're like, "Yeah, we'll get back to you in a little bit with the contract. We'll sign it up." I'm like, "Cool." And then we didn't hear anything for a little while, and next thing we know, Adidas signs a global licensing deal with Ninja Turtles, and Adidas specifically said like Bull Airs is not to be included with that, and we're like, "Why are you calling out us?" Like in the grand scheme of everything, like Adidas. I mean, I'm completely flattered that Adidas
Right.
thinks that Bull Airs is gonna take a notch out of their fucking 100,000 Ninja Turtle shoes that are because our all our deals that we do with the licensing are like we make 50 to maybe 200 pairs of shoes, and then we're done with that character or that version, and then it's on to the next thing. So the fact that like I guess we were a threat to them it's just really funny and hilarious to me because like we're not. It's just
Sure.
we make cooler shoes. But like it's a different market. They're at general market. They're at you have to like play it safe and you have something that a little bit everybody wants just a little bit of not too spicy. Where we're like fucking burn your mouth. If you're a true Ninja Turtle collector, which it's funny because like we're branded as like the official non-official Ninja Turtle shoe, which is totally fine by me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so we had that deal and it fell through. So now we don't make any Ninja Turtle stuff. If we do, it's themed. So like we have these shoes coming out,
That's cool.
and
Yeah.
as you can
Yeah.
see, it has all we're gonna say all four seasons. Spring, summer, fall, winter. I don't know. I'm just saying that. So there's no official Ninja Turtle branding on
Yeah.
this whatsoever. But if you are a fan of Ninja Turtles, you
Right.
probably are. You probably see some similarities. So, but for the most part, like.
Yeah.
We have a lot of licensing. We just did a license with Kevin Smith with the Clerks, which was really cool.
Oh.
We have
Yeah.
Smurfs. We have a lot of horror. Even that Back to the Future one was a parody. It wasn't licensed because if you look, there's no other than the Nike logo, which I'll get into that whole. There's a
Mhm.
loophole around that, but like there's
Okay.
no Back to the Future branding on it whatsoever, and we don't even reference, like we don't hashtag. We also learned if you hashtag say Ninja Turtles, you can be liable in a court of law for misguiding and misrepresenting Ninja Turtles. So like
Mhm.
we actually have a trademark lawyer now, which I'll send a picture of one we're working on, and she's like, nah, that comes too close, or she's like, yeah, this is totally fine, it's parody. So that's the other thing
Hmm.
we've learned is have a good lawyer.
Yeah, I'm sure that had to be one of the very early hires that you make in a
You you
business
would
like
you
this.
would think, but we just hired them like 4 months ago. It's when so Paramount. I can't say too much because I don't want to get hit with slander. But they're not our favorite right now. So
Gotcha.
and our lawyers are batting for us. So we'll keep it at that.
Yeah, yeah.
But all the rest of them are fucking amazing. Even when Michael J. Fox's agent hit us up, he's like, "We know these aren't licensed, and it's totally cool." Like Michael just loves all things Back to the Future. We're like, "Cool, awesome." But
Yeah.
for the most part, we like to have a license just because it's legit. But there's like Universal. We've had the hardest time getting a hold of Universal that owns Back to the Future and Jurassic Park and all these other things. It's sometimes it's like next to impossible to get a hold of these people to say, "Hey, I got money. I want to buy your license." And you just crickets.
I could see that.
So
Yeah.
sometimes what I quickly learned, like in the first 2 years especially, is just fucking do it, and then you'll get a cease and desist, and then you have your foot in the door talking to them and opening a dialogue. Like perfect example is this. Oh, let me grab it. So we did, these. This is
Oh.
a blueberry one, but we did the General Mills, Count Chocula,
Oh.
Frankenberry. This one's signed. This one's signed. But and the Blueberry, we did these as a very limited drop, and then we immediately got a cease and desist from General Mills, and like, hey, you got to stop that. And we're like, hey, we want the license, and they're just like, no, we don't want to give it to you. And then we're like, okay, we're done. So like, that's the other thing is like everybody thinks like you immediately get sued. And it's not like that. There's like a process. You'll get a cease and desist. Actually, you'll probably get 5 cease and desists, and then eventually they're going to go, now we're taking you to court, and then they have to file this whole injunction and all this other stuff. So we just try to push. We just try to push back as much as we can.
Yeah, just push the envelope wherever you can. So
Yeah.
if you get something like a cease and desist on that, I mean, you're doing small enough runs that you're not like out of, tens of thousands of
Oh
dollars in
yeah. So I
production
mean,
or anything.
the way we've timed it. So like the Back to the Future shoes, right? So actually, I'll give I'll say Back to the Future. So the Back to the Future ones, those were unlicensed. They're themed, but we've learned that if you release it on Friday, that the lawyers leave the office at a certain time, and they even if they see it on the weekend, lawyers don't want to fucking do any additional work. So you basically have from Friday afternoon when you post it to take it down by Monday morning, and by that time it's down is when they get into the office, New York City or wherever, and then they'll go on and be like, "Well, it's not up there anymore. It's not even on the website. Who cares?" So we've learned like these quick. You got to be faster than the lawyers.
Right, right, yeah. And then however many pre-sales you can get in that period of time are yours, huh?
Exactly, because the thing is, if it's not on your website, by the time they come at you with a cease and desist, that they're not going to come after you. So, put it
Yeah.
up, keep it up, take it down Monday morning, you're good to go.
That's awesome. It's
Yeah,
funny to think the tricks of the trade, like
yeah,
that you learn.
yeah. And then
What?
same thing with the Nike. Everyone goes, "How can you sell Nike shoes?" Well,
Mhm.
our lawyer taught us there's a thing called the right of first doctrine. Now, the right of first doctrine basically means, you can buy anything, like say a Mickey Mouse shirt. Well, this is a public domain one, but you could buy a Disney shirt, and you can take the tag or something off of there that has the Mickey Mouse or Disney logo, and I could sew it on a shoe, and I can claim that that is an official Disney shoe because the right of first purchase.
Huh.
You are the first person to purchase that, and it's your
Oh.
property, and you can do with what you want. The only catch to that is, if you sell 50 Disney shoes, you have to have 50 receipts of 50 shirts that you bought that you
Huh.
recycled that tag, which we've done. We've taken, we've bought stuff, and then we've taken the tags off and sent them to China, and they sew them on there, and we're like, we're in the right. So
Wow.
it's a crazy loophole, but we've gotten hit with a lot of our ads being taken down on Facebook, and the second they take them down, we immediately hit them back with, no, this is the right of first purchase, and we give them the whole doctrine, and then it immediately goes back up because you can't fight it. It's
Hmm.
the law. It's a loophole. It's great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. And so explain again how that works with Nike. Are you have to physically have
Yeah.
Nike
So
receipts?
yeah,
Uh,
so out where I live, we have a Nike, what do you want to call it? Like a secondary, like a warehouse,
hmm
a Nike discount place.
hmm
So I go there and I buy like the $30 Nikes,
hmm.
and then you just take the Nike tag out of it, and then you
Huh.
just ship them off to the factory. And when they make the shoes, they put the Nike thing on there, and then guess what? It's a Nike shoe.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah,
Wow, that is a crazy loophole. I would have
yeah,
never guessed that would hold. That's
yeah. It does. It
interesting.
does for now.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So, so obviously, you start off by, you're obviously way into, pop culture, like you said, kind of nerd culture and stuff, and you start. It's a super creative endeavor early on, and then like 90% of what we've talked about in this conversation is a lot of red tape. So, do you find like for example, I have an outside business. My wife and I have a lot of rental property here in town, but a lot of single family houses, and I automate it to an extent, but I have a couple of days per week, mornings per week, that are specific clutch investments days. And it's very difficult for me to shift mindsets. Like I do those days on days that I don't do tattoos, on days that I don't draw. Do you find a lot of that, like kind of that you with the headspace that you struggle at all?
Yeah, I mean, at first it was the same thing with tattoos. Is I'd find, I'm very passionate, and when I'm really into something, I'm obsessed with it. So like right before I ended up retiring, I was like, well, I'm working on that tattoo that I should be stoked on. I was thinking about the shoe or something I had to work on, and that's also why I retired, because I was like, listen, if I'm not going to give this my 120,000%, I don't want to be doing, because it's not fair to the customer. So that's kind of why, it got out the way I did. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you should have milked it for a few more years." I'm like, "No, everybody tells you if you're done, just get out. Don't keep milking the industry for, just for money. If you're not into it, get out." And that's what I did,
Yeah.
Um but yeah, same thing. Like, I have days which are like business meeting days. So, and which is really hard to get used to. Is like, I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and my wife will tell you I had to work on this because I come from tattooing where every minute of the day you're kind of talking to people, trying to get that next appointment, trying to just hustling. You know what I mean? But not
Mhm.
but actually providing. But you're always trying to get that next business, that next appointment. And I was the same way with shoes. I was always like, I get home and I'd be on the phone talking to people, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to line up this." And she's like, "Listen, leave it at the office 9 to 5. Leave it there. When you're at home, you're at home with the kids and everything like that." So that's the hardest part, is transitioning from that. And then now it's like, I think, what is it? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. A lot of those are just meetings talking to licensing. That's the other thing, is like we have licensing deals with Warner Brothers and some of
Mhm.
these movie houses, and they want a meeting every week. So you have to get on
Uh,
there and just rehash the same stuff over. Oh, what's going on with the shoes? Well, it's the same as I told you last week. It hasn't
hmm.
changed, but they have to do that, and you kind of have to jump through those same hoops and stuff like that. So getting used to that schedule is a little bit difficult. But then, like, I'd say like on Tuesdays and Thursdays are the days I'm working on my commissions or drawing stuff or preparing illustrations, and I get to have the real fun, as I like to say.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever have any interest in, say, I mean, I'm sure there are certain shoes that have really taken off that would continuously sell, like most likely. Do you have any interest in doing like kind of permanent run? Do you like the short runs of shoes, or would you ever have a shoe that you could just get indefinitely mass
um,
produced?
I I only like the short runs just for the legal reason of it. You know what I mean? Because if you have a short run, they're like, it's 100 pairs. Who cares? But um, in the future, we plan on having a lot more. I would say that our short horns, like these are always like in stock, because these are our silhouette. Maybe they're not as in demand as like the Nike ones, but we're really trying to push like our own designs and kind of, like, I guess we're like a drug dealer. Like we get you in with a Nike Coke, and then hopefully, you keep coming back, and you get hooked on the short horns and the long horns. That's what we call them, the low tops, high tops. And you
Gotcha. Okay.
and you start getting into that. We were trying to, like, I also think, like, we have a lot of celebrity clients now, and more of them are getting our own silhouette. And I think once you see more of those, people are going to be like, it's the fear of missing out. They want to get what somebody else has got.
Yeah,
So,
right.
they want those. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is awesome to find that celebrities that people are reaching out. Do you have a lot of people reaching out with ideas for like, oh, you should do these
Oh,
shoes? Is
yeah.
that a yeah, I would imagine
Every
so.
day, like, oh, you should do the, Sylvester Stallone Rambo, or you should do
Hmm.
a Rocky, or anything under the sun. I've gotten it, so from obscure to really popular.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have like when it comes to the creative side of it and new ideas, do you storyboard or do you keep a lot of or take a lot of people's ideas and work on those, or do you have a plethora of like, do you have a direction that
Schedule.
you're kind of going? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
schedule or like
yeah, we have our licensed, stuff, and then we
right.
kind of. So there's like two things. We have our rough outline of, when the license stuff comes out, because those are more strict. Like, we have the license for Biker Mice from Mars. I don't know if you remember that cartoon in Toyline, but
Hmm.
it
No, I don't
so
know that
that
one.
one
No.
is being produced by Ryan Reynolds, who's also in it, and Ryan is very strict with the schedule on that, and we can't release anything until the TV show comes out. And right now we don't even know when the TV show comes out. It might be this year, it might be next year. So
Mhm.
like we have it loosely on the schedule, but we don't know. It could always be kind of moving around, and that's kind of like how a lot of our, like, we have funny enough, we have the license for Icy and Slush Puppy. So like we
Oh,
have yeah, we have a shoe coming out for that's going to be sold at AMC theaters and stuff like that, and that's going to be
oh,
around the summertime. But that's also very loosely like, the guy that runs AMC is like, when are you going to buy this? Well, we're going to meet you here, and we're going to, like, it's so up in the air. So a lot of times, like with the Back to the Future one, that was like, I just woke up one morning and go, let's just do a Back to the Future shoe. And then I have a CGI artist that, Monk is his name, and he designed, like, I send him my sketches and my turnarounds, and then he designs them in his little thing. It takes him about less than a week, and then we're fucking off to the races. So like we're doing the same thing. Like our next drop that's coming up, I think I'm either posting the teaser tonight or tomorrow. It's a Jurassic Park themed one, and I literally came up with the sketches last week. If it's unlicensed and it's a parody or a theme, I
yeah.
can like on the spot go, okay, I sketch all the stuff up, send it to him, and then we're off to the races. The same thing with that is like it's a pre-order system, so we don't have to have anything in stock. And my
Mhm.
CGI guy is so good at making these amazing renderings that, and we've built up a reputation over the years that we actually provide these shoes. I know there's a lot of sketchy businesses out there that like scam people for fake shoes, or like they're knockoffs, or bullshit ones, and we don't have that. We have great reviews. We have a fan base that's we have a Facebook group that's over 1,500 followers in there, which is really
Oh,
cool.
nice.
So like
Yeah.
we call them airheads. They're awesome. They're just like diehard Bull Air fans, and we always, if
Yeah.
anybody's ever like, I don't know if you're a real business, we're like, go to Secret Sneaker Society on Facebook, check it out. You'll be reassured that this is a real business. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And what
nice.
it's called Secret Sneaker Society?
Secret sneaker. I'm sorry, it's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Secret Sneaker Society, and it's on
Okay.
Facebook. It's a
Okay.
private group, so you have to you have to invite yourself. But I mean, we usually let everybody in. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's
I
cool.
was gonna ask, so the CGI artist explains it. I was gonna ask about your kind of social media content and just like how incredible it really is. Like when
Oh, thank you.
it's really really cool. Like the Back to the Future stuff, just the little kind of promo videos spinning around with all the. I was just like, wow, man, how is he doing that? It's
Yeah,
nuts.
that's my buddy Monk. We have two CGI teams. Monk lives in Mexico. He is originally from New Jersey, but he lives down in Mexico, I think, with his wife or girlfriend. And dude, he's amazing. Like I just send him. I don't know if you're familiar with turnarounds, but it's like you draw like different angles of the shoe or character
Okay.
or whatever. So I'll draw the turnarounds, and he kind of knows what I mean. He already has this sculpted in Blender or whatever he uses,
Mhm.
and he'll just come up with like I'll even storyboard it. I'll literally draw like little storyboards and then say, this is what the motion I want, and he just goes to town with it and kills it. And then we have another team. They're out of Ohio called Red Point Digital. They did all the Dune stuff for us for that campaign, and
Okay.
they kill it too. That's a whole team. Monk is by himself. Monk is just a one man army. It's crazy.
Hmm. Wow.
And then
Yeah, it's really impressive.
a lot of the photography is all edited by me. I have my buddy Jesse. He comes in and he takes the photos and stuff, but then everything else, like the actual content, is all done by me.
Gotcha. Yeah. Um, Back to the kind of where we started the conversation of retiring from tattooing or getting out of tattooing. What I don't know how many being from you're in New York City, is that right?
No, I'm
Or
upstate New York, so it's like
upstate New York?
3.5 hours.
Okay,
We're
gotcha.
the real New York.
Gotcha. Did you struggle to just like communicating with clientele, like referring people away, like as it's, I know that you kind of I guess intentionally or unintentionally let it dwindle. You just had other demands, so you went slowly, and it wasn't an abrupt retirement. But what was that kind of process
Yeah.
like? You know?
Yeah, that was the hardest one because I already had, dozens of like regulars. So, basically telling I think I prepared all them like right when I knew that it was going to start happening. I was like, "Listen, we're going to finish up these projects, but after that I'm probably done." And they're like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Don't be sorry. Like it's cool." I just they were very disappointed, but they totally got it. I think once you tell them, you know, I just want to do something that I'm passionate about, and unfortunately, this isn't something I'm passionate about right now. And when you tell them that, usually they're like, "Okay, I get it. I don't want you tattooing me if you're not stoked on it right now."
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
usually got it. But it took me about a year. I was a year to get everybody finished and off, checked off the list of okay, that's done, that's done. And there's always a few people. I have a few back pieces that I've emailed them forever and they just never got back to me. So like, screw it. You're walking around with an unfinished tattoo. And
Yeah.
then my old tattoo apprentice, he goes by Uncle Eden online. He's an amazing tattooer. He's like my protege. He's fucking awesome. So anybody, and he lives here in the same area as me. So any of my old customers or any new people that still hit me up, I just say go to his name's Evan. I said go to Evan because he kills it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Do you is it something you think you would ever return to, or is that passion kind of like died out permanently, you think?
I don't
It,
know. Like when I was down in Texas for it was a video game convention that we were set up. One of my friends that is a tattoo artist down there, he's like, "Hey, I'd love for you to tattoo your logo on me." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll do it." So I
mhm,
tattooed the Bull Airs logo. Had a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It was just it's like riding a bike. It took me 2 seconds. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's how it goes," and then I
mhm.
was
Right.
good to go. So, I mean, I don't want to say never. I definitely am always still going to do little tiny little pieces here and there on family and friends. Like my wife wants me to tattoo a chicken dinosaur nugget for my son loves chicken dinosaurs or
Yeah.
yeah, dinosaur chicken nuggets or whatever the hell they're called. So I got to
Right.
tattoo one of those on her for her. But I at this point, like it was 16 years, it's like riding a bike. I could probably pick it up at any point and do it just as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I'm
just
sure.
it's muscle memory.
Right, right. Do you think that you had mentioned kind of losing the passion for it? If not for COVID, do you think you might still be tattooing? Was that the catalyst, or do you believe that you would have ended
Oh
up
yeah.
doing? But yeah, you would.
Uh, it definitely, yeah. I mean, if COVID didn't happen, I would still be tattooing right now. I think it just put a lot of things in perspective. And as somebody that has three kids and a wife and a mortgage, when the money stopped, it made me go, holy shit. What if this were to happen again? I need to be able to support myself. Other than a business that is, you have to touch the customer, you have to be in person, you have to do this thing that is a service. Whereas,
Right.
when I got into this, I'm like, also too is like I tell this to everybody. I was, just telling this to one of my other tattoo friends is like here in upstate New York, I can only charge so much an hour, even being on a national TV show. You know, I mean, I think it was 250 is what I was charging at the end an hour, and that was pushing it for upstate New York. And I love upstate New York. I don't plan on moving whatsoever. So unless I wanted to do the whole convention circuit and charge convention rates, which I did do a little bit, but I didn't really want to be away from my family that much. Had already reached my ceiling, so that also was stuck in my head because now I just have this passive income that keeps coming in day in and day out. That the
Right.
ceiling is infinite.
Yeah, yeah, and just the ability, yeah, to your point, to scale, like scaling yourself as a tattooer is impossible, and you can scale tattooing by opening shops and bringing on other artists, but that's not necessarily scaling yourself or your own
Yeah,
skills, and something like this, especially as it, and I don't know what your kind of 5 or 10 year vision or whatever might be for it. But I would imagine that the pieces of it that you really enjoy, like what your thing is, and the pieces of it that as soon as the revenues allow, you'll pass off to somebody else, right?
yeah. I mean, that's exactly what we're doing. We just hired a guy now so we have my buddy Gary. He works here and he does account management. So he's really he worked for Google for I don't know how damn long, or Microsoft, whichever. Microsoft, because he'd yell at me right now if I said Google. He worked for Microsoft. He was the account manager for all these crazy things over there. So now he's on. Once I got the money that I could afford to pay him payroll, we brought him on, and he does like all the spreadsheets of like what's ordered, how many extras do we need. He's always checking and sending it to the factory, and doing his due diligence on that. And then he's also answering all the emails and customer relations and stuff like that. He was doing that and shipping, and it was like crazy. And then after this Back to the Future drop, we did very well for ourselves. And now we just hired on a guy that does shipping by himself. So now he's in the back room and he's just doing shipping. And then Gary can do all his own stuff and not be overwhelmed. We also have a bunch of freelance artists that, I can't do all the designing. So we have a guy named Grim Job, and he used to do a lot of art designs for a lot of like bands back in the day. I don't know if you remember Bring Me the Horizon. He did artwork for them and stuff like that. So he does a lot of commission work for us. It's really just a team. Like we're like, I want to eventually get to the point we have enough revenue where I can have, somebody that does those meetings that I hate doing during the week. That's the liaison that comes in and does those meetings. Like, eventually I'd like it to be a well-oiled machine where I just come in and I just design what I need to design, and then I send it off into the ether of the business, and they do what they want with it.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to take a quick second and introduce our tattoo toolkits. If you've not heard of the toolkits, we have a tattoo apprentice's toolkit and a tattooer's toolkit. So if you're a new tattooer or a tattooer hopeful, like trying to build your portfolio to get into a shop, the tattoo apprentice's toolkit would be fantastic for you. It includes our Fireside Foundations course, our thumbnail templates, and 3 months access to the Inside Fireside Tattoo Club. If you are a seasoned tattooer and you already know everything there is to know about tattooing, you should pick up the Tattooer's Toolkit. It is our advanced design course, Fireside Simplify. Really helps if you are starting to transition into larger scale work from smaller scale work. Comes with that, our Tattoo Transformer worksheet, which you'll learn more about if you click on the link, and then also a 3-month subscription to the Inside Fireside Tattoo Club. Check them out. All right, that's it. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is like having the business now. Like in October, we went to payroll, and now every 2 weeks I get a paycheck, and I'm not used to that. That's pretty nice. You know how that goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was the catalyst to make that shift?
So we ended up getting. I had a friend. So first of all, he was his name's Ryan. He runs a social media marketing. Funny enough, he runs a social media marketing thing, and he doesn't do any social media for us, which is funny, because he says that we're good, and I'm like, I should be flattered, but I really wish your team would do it.
Right.
But he was ordering a ton of our one-of-one commissions. We were doing we still do them, but we were doing from the beginning, and they're $1,500 for one pair of shoes, and he had ordered, I think, 10 shoes the first year. And I was like, what does this guy do for a living that he can do $1,500, every month pretty much?
Yeah.
And then I looked him up, and he was on the Forbes #1, best 200 new businesses in the country. And then as the business was growing, I was just watching a lot of seminars and things like that, or like Gary Vee and stuff like that. And they were all saying like, know your limitations, know your strengths. If you want to grow, you have to bring on a team that can, take over those things that you struggle at. And I was like, well, if I want to scale and build this business, I got to bring somebody on that actually knows business. Because I didn't go to school for business. I went to school for visual communications because I wanted to be a skateboard videographer or whatever back in the day.
Okay.
So I had a conversation with him. I was like, hey, I know you're running the social media thing. Have you ever thought about coming on as a partner and helping us build this? And he's like, fuck yeah, dude, I'd love to do it. So it was a kind of like a courtship. It took about 8 months to like get it all lined up, get the agreement. We had to get an evaluation done by an actual evaluation company who came in, and they basically go through all your books, look at all your numbers, all your projections for what you want to do. You kind of give them a rough idea of like, this is what I plan on trying to release this year and how many. And then they come back with like, this is what your business is scheduled to make this year, and then the following 3. And then I send it off to Ryan. Ryan's like, okay, this looks good. It looks really good. And Ryan's like, yeah, this looks good. Let's do it. And then he comes on as a partner. It's almost like an acquisition. So like to get the payroll, we had to go under a PEO, which is called which his whole business is under a PEO, and it's like this weird umbrella. I don't know if you're familiar with PEOs
I've
at
never
all.
heard of a PEO.
Yeah,
It's like a
public.
corporate structure. What is
Yeah, it's like a public earnings offering. So it's like,
PEO? Okay,
yeah,
write
it's
that
just
down.
this weird. So like our business, the PEO runs off of Bearing Tree. Now Bearing Tree is like an actual bank that they basically have all these different little branches that come off of different organizations, and all the money goes back up into the main thing. So it's basically you're able to feed every single business that's on it. You're all acting as one.
Okay,
It's a really cool new thing that they've been doing, but it's been working for us. So,
interesting. I'll
yeah,
research it.
yeah,
Public earnings offering.
yeah.
Public earning
PEO.
PEO. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll research it. I'll find that.
yeah,
Yeah, I've not heard of that. I think it's an important. I'm glad we went down that avenue because we're talking early on about tattooers and side hustles, or maybe retiring and starting something, completely new. And in tattooing, so many of us are kind of rugged individualists is the term that I use a lot. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself, and that's why
yep,
so many of them don't even have like someone to help with their books, to book consultations or to order supplies or to
yep,
like just very basic things that no tattooer should really be doing for themselves. And so certainly when they start some type of side hustle, they're going to take that same mentality to it and get overwhelmed almost immediately. There's
yeah,
just no chance that you could have
yeah.
scaled
You
anywhere
gotta.
near this.
I had the same mindset. If
Mhm.
if anyone's gonna do it, I have to do it because I'll do it right. And
Mhm.
you eventually have to like give the reins over to somebody else and and have trust in them that they're going to do it because they want to make money just like you. They want to get their payroll. They want to get their check every 2 weeks. So they're not gonna, if you vented them well when you were hiring them, they should be more than adequate to do the fucking job right. So it would
Right.
it. I mean, I'm not gonna say it happened overnight, but I would say like within 6 months. My buddy Gary's been here since August, and now I'm more than confident that I could, if I say, hey, email this, or I don't even have to remind him. Like he has it on his list to do, and he does it. So it's
Right.
nice.
Yeah, the funny thing about that mindset, if you want it done right, do it yourself, is it makes this one kind of critical statement that usually isn't true, and that's I'm better at everything than everybody else is.
Yeah,
And so when you realize, like, oh, actually, I'm pretty terrible at that,
yeah,
and I'm trying to pay myself to do it.
yeah.
My coach asked me years ago. We would go through and list out the things that we did each week just on a yellow notepad, and you would list by like this is in quadrants. This is something that I'm awesome at and I love it. This is something I'm very competent at. Don't love it, but I'm competent. All the way down to I'm terrible at this and I hate it. It makes me miserable. And he said, okay, the things that are in this quadrant, like how much, like what do you make when you're doing your upper left quadrant stuff? I'm like, oh, $200 an hour tattooing. Like, okay, well, like, what if you had to pay yourself $200 an hour to reconcile QuickBooks? And the way that you're doing it right now, I'd be like, oh, no way, dude. I would fire, I would fire that person immediately. It's like, great, fire yourself. Hire someone at $8 an hour to do it. So it's hard to
Yeah,
get that in your head, though. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that was the other thing too. Like I've had friends when I brought on my partner Ryan. They're like, why are you giving up equity in your CAD table to somebody else? And I go, well, I could have 100% of nothing. Like let's just say you run it to the fucking ground. I got 100%, but I went bankrupt. Or I could be aware of what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and bring somebody on that's stronger, that's gonna build it and push us all forward, and we're all gonna be making money on that CAD table.
Yeah, I think that's the important distinction. 100% of a terrible business that's failing, or 10% of a really successful business. Which one do
Yeah,
you want?
exactly, exactly.
That's so important, and I don't think most people starting from the ground up give that enough consideration and get overwhelmed so quickly. I kind of teased at or mentioned a minute ago like what the longer term, like the 5 or 10 year goal is, and you did mention you'd like to come in and just do designs and nothing else. But do you have any? I mean, I guess there's probably no real chance at this point. There would be no reason to bring manufacturing or anything like that closer or in house if you're happy with what's happening in China, or is
Yeah, I
that
mean, we aren't really happy with our China factories, but we also we want things called redundancies, where it's another factory that you have someplace else that does the exact same thing, just in case, war breaks out in China and then the China shut down, that you don't lose, your factories, still producing what you need to produce. So we're exploring other options of getting, whether it be, Costa Rica or Singapore or some of these other places, that so we can have redundancies, is the next step in that. A lot of people go, oh, why don't you make stores and blah blah blah. I have no interest in like these fucking Supreme stores or any of these, like, Flight Club or StockX. Really, it's like you said, I would really love it to be where everything's 100% branded and they're not limited anymore. It's an open, the run is completely open. You can get it whenever you want. That's kind of my dream, is just kind of getting a wider audience, just so like I want there to be, I'm not saying I want 10% of the shoe market, but I'd like when people look up there, they go, oh, there's Adidas, there's Nike, there's New Balance. And then when they talk about like custom brands, Bull Airs is up there,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the one thing I like about what I'm doing is, as far as pop culture custom shoes, like I'm the only one in the country that does this. So that also is something that I like a lot. And the fact that, like, and I'm sure you can attest to this, is like I mean, when did you start tattooing?
1996.
Okay, so you definitely know. So like when you first started, there wasn't as many tattooers as there
No.
is now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like my small town that I live here in Cortland, New York, has probably 15 or 20 tattooers, maybe even more. So you're a dime a dozen. I love the fact that now, on in the U.S., I'm the only one that does what I do. I can't, like, to the scale and to like the creativity and to the licensing, there's nobody else in the country that does what
Wow.
I do, and I love that. you know
Yeah,
I mean,
that's surprising and really awesome.
yeah,
Nobody
I
else,
mean,
huh?
no, there's nobody else. I would say, like, to anybody that's, thinking about, moving out of tattooing, and like this is a good transition, is moving out of tattooing and getting into their own businesses. You need to think about, like, what you're bringing to the market. Is it something that is needed? Is it, like, I got lucky because this is a niche market. Like the pop culture nerdy shoe is a very small but dedicated niche market. So, like, I'm trying to think. I still get a lot of people that go, oh, I want to start a clothing brand. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you bringing to the table? What's new about your clothing brand? And
Hmm.
they really don't ever have any good answer. So I was like,
Yeah.
if you're not moving forward and innovating and adding something that is wanted, then why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And the reason I do what I'm doing is, in the collector, Comic-Con nerdy market, there's nobody that was doing pop culture shoes. So that's what I'm bringing to the market, is I'm this little niche that, people demand and want. So I'd say, if anybody's listening, if you have a brand that you're trying to, or business, what are you contributing? What is the void that you're trying to fill? And how can you get a market share of that void?
Yeah, that's great advice. A good way to think about it. It's thinking about. We've talked a little bit about scaling, about kind of finding what you do well and filling in the gaps. We call it the who, not how mindset in my group. It's like who, instead of saying how do we do this, it's like who should do this,
Yeah,
that type of thing. But if you can't solve if you don't understand the problem you're trying to solve and who you're trying to solve it for, none of the rest of that stuff matters at all.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really really important. I didn't ask, but I assume were you a big shoe collector growing up?
It's funny. It's I not so much as shoe collectors. I mean, I always loved shoes, but in the '90s, I was more, like Converse and Chucks and, Vans. It was kind of my thing. And then in the early 2000s, I've always been a skateboarder. So like when I got into skateboarding, when Nike came out with the Nike SB Dunks, I was rocking those for a while. So that's kind of where I fell in love with, like, the Nike brand, is with the skateboard shoes. Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to tell people I would have I had the Tiffany shoes. I don't know if you're familiar with the Tiffany's, but
Yeah.
they're like, if you can find a pair of SB Dunk low tops that are, themed to the Tiffany's, like the actual, like that minty green and black, brand,
Mm-hmm.
they can sell for $20,000 right now. And
Oh wow.
I skated in at least two pairs of those and trashed them.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Huh. That's wild. Speaking of the Nike brand, falling in love with the Nike brand, it was actually just this morning. I watch a lot of CNBC in the mornings, or while I'm drawing, and um, Nike reported earnings not too long ago, and they've steadily been kind of falling and losing market share, at least in the running world, to like On Cloud and Hoka and Brooks and some of these
Yep.
other kinds of brands. And they're really right now, it seems like, trying to kind of find themselves. They're trying to re-enter and compete in the running market, which is where they came from.
Yep.
But they've kind of found themselves a little bit in no man's land. Do you keep up with them from that standpoint at all?
Yeah,
Or?
I mean, I follow all the shoe brands.
Mhm.
In the past, like you said, Nike had like 90% of the market, and then it was like a little bit of Adidas, and then it was like New Balance and all the Reebok way down here. But lately, I think people are just getting burnt out on like Nike just releasing the same Air Jordans like over and over, and people are just getting fed up with like the Nike app, the sneakers app. It's just like you have to get a raffle to buy a pair of shoes. I just want to go on a website and buy them. Why do I need to, randomly get picked to buy a pair of your shoes? So that part kind of sucks. Like I know that's half the reason I started making shoes is I couldn't win shoes on the Nike's app. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just make them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. Um, yeah, that's funny. And it's funny because if you go back, I just watched that Jordan movie not too long ago,
Oh,
the
Air.
Air, yeah, and
Yeah, it was
and
a great
how
movie.
was a great movie, yeah.
Yeah.
But like the gamble that they took, it kind of shows that kind of like innovative, hungry new company, and then how they become kind of a dinosaur, really,
Yeah.
But
What's funny to me too is like the hypocrisy of Nike because if you remember the beginning of that movie, I don't know if did they show how Phil ripped off the Tiger shoes in Japan? I don't know if they showed that in there, but
I don't know
so
if they
there
did.
when the Cortez shoe is a ripoff of a Chinese brand. They were called Tiger or something, but they literally like so when Phil first started. He was a dealer of these Chinese shoes. I'm just gonna say Tiger. Let's just call him Tiger. He was
Okay.
a dealer of Tiger shoes in America, and he realized how good that they were selling. So then he basically talked to the factories in China behind Tiger's back and said, "Hey, just put a." They figured out a swoosh. They put a swoosh on here, same model, same everything, and we're gonna sell it as Cortez. And now we have our own brand. So they
Hmm.
literally just ripped off somebody else's shoe. So it's
Huh.
funny to me when they get mad at people ripping them off, and I'm like, "You did the same thing, bro."
The same thing, right? That's funny. Huh.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. Well,
Yep.
man, this has been a blast. I've really enjoyed it, and I do love all of the. I love what you've done. It's always cool to
Thank you.
see stuff kind of pop up. How? I mean, I guess social media. Oh, what happened? I don't know if you want to get into it or put it on the podcast at all, but like we were kind of communicating through one account, and you've got a
Yeah.
secondary account. Did you have some type of a social media glitch or
Yeah, so
something?
that's also so I had an actual so the one I'm on now, Bull Airs is Bull_Airs_official was actually my old tattoo page that I had like 100,000 followers on that eventually like so when that tattoo page, Bulman Tattoos, was still going on, I had another page that was just a shoe, and that's Bull Airs, the one that we were talking to
Right.
originally. And as it's grown, that's the one that I really focused on posting every day and stuff like that. And then the tattoo one over here, I just post every once in a while. I've learned that when something sells out, people get pissed and then they report you. So when the Back to the Future shoes sold out, like 10 or 20 or however many people, if they're pissed that they couldn't get the shoes, so they're like a little kid, they're like, if I can't get it, nobody's gonna get it. So they all reported me for Instagram still
Wow.
Instagram still hasn't told me why my page was taken down. All I know
Hmm.
is they took it down, and now I'm fighting to get it back. So in the meantime, I'm over to my backup page. So I like to have like 3 pages in total at all time, just because I know how Instagram works, and you got to be prepared to pivot at any point. It's
Wow.
crazy. Like
It is.
and especially like my argument with Instagram was like, listen, like last year I spent like 150,000 on advertising with them, and
Hmm.
like I'm like, you're believing no name people allegations that are frivolous, and you're taking down somebody that's giving you money for advertising.
Right.
Like it's like, why aren't you asking me like, hey, are these allegations correct? Why are there's none of that. It's just like, you're down. And I'm like, why? And they won't even tell me. So yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you would think it would have to be, that's really scary for a business owner.
Oh, 100%.
And then you would think there would have to be some fairly simple automations that could be put in place whenever someone or a group of people have, some type of complaint against you. That could fire off something that you could respond to immediately. Where
You would think.
There wouldn't have to be like a long period of due diligence. So if it was a scam, you could still get it down pretty quickly, I bet. But you could at least give enough time for the owner of the page.
Yeah. Plus, my pages are always verified. So, like, you're supposed to have this extra level of security if you're verified, but they don't even give you the respect to, like, ask you a question. They just take you down. And then getting them, I don't know if you've ever tried to talk to Facebook Meta on the phone, but it's like a nightmare.
Sure.
It's all people in Southeast Asia, and you can barely understand them, and it's fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So for now, we're using bull_airs_official.
Official. Gotcha.
That's the page.
And then and so you I know you have the descriptions of like how to do pre-orders, and all the links and things like that are in the whatever your bio on
the bio
on Instagram. Yeah. So is that the best way? If people have questions, people want to reach out, is that the best way?
I mean, I'm the one answering all the DMs, so like shoot me a DM. I'm more than happy to talk. Otherwise, just go to bullairs.com. There's also like a commission section there, so it's almost like a tattoo form. You fill out like kind of what you want, what kind of shoe, what kind of size, all that jazz, and then once commissions open up, we get back to you and I say, yeah, I'll do it. Or it's like tattooing. I say no to like half the things people ask me, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I only want to do the ones I want to do.
Yeah. And that's for one-offs specifically that you're talking about there. Yeah. And are you doing those in-house? I guess you're not having those done over.
No, so those ones are still made by me. If it's the one of one, I actually take the time. I mean, that's why you're paying the premium money, is I take the time and I actually make those, hand sew them, hand last them, hand paint them sometimes. If it's I love the horseshoes because we just put blood all over it and resin and all this fun stuff and make it all gooey. That's fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you reaching out. That was a lot of fun. I'd love to.
Yeah. I also wanted to let you know that anytime I still have a lot of friends that tattoo, and some of them are a lot of younger kids that are in the industry. And I always say, just go out, check out Fireside on YouTube, because I'm like, Jake does like the most detailed, like, I go, you need to know about your needle depth? Just go watch Jake's little, video on it. Like, so I'm always recommending people over to your site.
Man, I really appreciate that. We've definitely been through the ringer for getting into going deep in the weeds on some of that stuff,
But I liked it though, you know what I mean? That's the stuff you need.
I think that's what, and I agree with. There's still a lot of folks that don't really believe in the age of information, and so they hammer me for putting anything like that out. But I think it's important for a lot.
I get it too. I've had this same conversation with Pawn. It was like he'd be like, when I was a tattooer, this stuff wasn't out there, so it took me 10 years to figure out needle depth and set. And he goes, why are kids learning so fast? I go, because everything's on YouTube. Just go to Jake's channel. He'll show you how to do it. You know what I mean? And do it right. So I think that's why the learning curve is so ridiculous now. It's like everybody can, if you really study and learn. And the same thing applies to me. I learned how to set up a sewing machine and thread a needle, and also I just went on YouTube and watched all these classes, and I learned how to do it. You don't need to go to college.
No,
just fucking go to YouTube. I went to the Academy of YouTube.
Right, same here.
Pretty fun episode, right? I really enjoyed that one. Thank you so much to Thom for reaching out and making this happen. I had a blast in that discussion. Thank you guys, as always, for supporting what we do. Again, check out Fireside Yacht Club. That name is meant to be tongue-in-cheek. It's not really, you don't have to have any like white clothes, white shoes, or anything like that. You can just show up in regular tattooer's clothes. It's not fancy. No champagne, nothing. And the toolkits and inside Fireside Tattoo Club. We have a lot of stuff going on. If you really want to up your tattooing, if you want an accountability partner, if you're just looking to get out of the rut of like the same 8 people in your tattoo shop doing the same 8 things over and over, and want to get around some fresh blood, some new tattooers, and just expand your brain a little bit, we would love to have you in the tattoo club or in any of the services that we offer. Go to firesidetattoo.com and you can see it all, or you can just click on some of the little windows that are popping around up here. Thank you guys. I will see you in the next episode.